So I think we're going to cover the Fallout series, if that's cool with you guys. If you don't know, Fallout is a new TV show done by Amazon Prime based off of the Fallout video games. A bit of backstory: Amazon purchased the right to produce a live-action project in 2020, and the show was announced in July of 2020. And it's getting a lot of praise online for being a really faithful adaptation, which I'm happy about. So a bit more about the show. It depicts the aftermath of the Great War of 2077, an apocalyptic nuclear exchange and an alternate history of Earth where advances in nuclear technology after World War II led to the emergence of a retro-futuristic society and a subsequent resource war. Many survivors took refuge in fallout bunkers known as vaults. More than 200 years later, in 2296, a young woman named Lucy leaves behind her home in Vault 33 to venture out into the dangerously unforgiving wasteland of a devastated Los Angeles to look for her father. Along the way, she meets a Brotherhood of Steel Squire and a ghoul bounty hunter, each with their own mysterious pasts and agendas to settle. So my knowledge of Fallout is very limited. I played the mobile game where you just built a bunker. It was sort of like a microtransaction game where it's like, build a thing. If you want to speed it up, give us $15 and stuff like that. And then the Monster Factory series about the Final Pam. So truly my only reference of the things that happen in Fallout are through the eyes of the Final Pam, which if you haven't seen that series on YouTube, please go check it out. It is absolutely hilarious. So we've got some horror icons, I would say, in the cast. Ella Purnell plays Lucy. You would know her best as Jackie on Yellow Jackets. And then we've got Kyle MacLachlan, who plays her father, who is obviously Mr. Dale Cooper, or Special Agent Dale Cooper, let me correct myself, from Twin Peaks. And he's Kyle MacLachlan, you know who he is. Dune, Blue Velvet, stuff like that. So, right off the bat, on October 23rd, 2077, at a birthday party in Los Angeles, actor Cooper Howard, played by Walton Goggins, entertains some children with cowboy tricks, and then the adults are distracted by news regarding a possible nuclear threat. So, I thought the nuclear war was in the 50s, because the aesthetic of the world is very 1950s and the music that they listen to. So I honestly thought it was 1950 when the nuclear war happened. But as I read in the summary, it seems that this is an astro-futuristic, retro-futuristic, that's the word. So it was very puzzling to me when they were 219 years later and it was 2296. Yeah, so the aesthetic to it was very puzzling till now, I guess, when I read this. And one thing I really like about this show so far is there's actual, really colorful imagery. I feel like a lot of shows sort of in the 2020s are really lacking color. Everything is sort of gray and washed out and dark and not lit very well. But I feel like so far what I've seen, this show is very well lit. There's lots of color, just very, very vibrant, which I think works well. As the kids go inside for cake, Howard converses with his daughter Janie over his reluctance in raising his thumb for a photograph based on his experiences as a Marine. Now, there's a line where the guy taking the picture says, "Coop, Coop, do your thumbs up." And I was literally me watching Twin Peaks when Dale Cooper puts his thumb up. I think Walton Goggins is one of the only actors that truly bodies his name entirely. There is no one else in the world that could have the name Walton Goggins except for him. So mad props to his parents for giving him that name, because it fits so perfectly. During this scene, the kids have their cake and then they sit in front of the TV and there's 20 or 30 kids, and I don't know what parties are like in 2077, but I've never been to a birthday party where we cut the cake and then we sit down in front of the TV and watch a cartoon. Especially where a lot of it was taking place outside and it's a beautiful day. And then during this discussion between Howard and his daughter about why he wouldn't do a thumbs up, we sort of get the origin story for the little statue guy that's the logo for Fallout, where he's putting his thumb up, because he said that if you put the thumb up in front of a nuclear explosion, if you can't see it, you have time to run, but if it's bigger than your thumb, you're pretty much already dead. I really want to know why the nuclear war is happening. It just seems like a very retro type of war to be having this far in the future. I don't know. I don't know enough backstory about this, and I think it's good because I'm seeing everything sort of fresh and getting this information without bias or anything, or like watching it similar to how you would watch a remake where you're like scanning for like little details that you liked from the original source material or whatever. So yeah, then suddenly a nuclear bomb hits the city and it sends a shockwave towards the house. The attack causes pandemonium and the partygoers flee, with some trying to enter a fallout shelter. But obviously you don't want to have your entire kid's birthday party guests in your fallout shelter, because then that obviously cuts your rations down to like nothing. So they're like fighting and everyone's driving away, and then Howard and his daughter go on their horse while more bombs are hitting the city. I think they show like 4 or 5, and the Earth experiences what Wikipedia calls a nuclear holocaust. Then we jump to 219 years later, and groups of humanity have been living in underground colonies known as vaults, built to preserve American society in the event of nuclear war. So then we meet Lucy McLean, and I loved this little introduction to her character so much. Like, obviously in the context of the show, she is introducing herself to these people to find a marriage candidate, but it's also really good for us to sort of let us know the skills she has, almost like when you make your character, you have to like divide your stats up or whatever, you get like skill points. So I feel like we know her skill points off the bat, even though they're not like, I'm charisma 10 and luck 10. It's subtly hinted to us, and it shows us the skills she has, so she can't really be heralded as like a Mary Sue that just knows how to do everything. Lucy is a vault dweller from Vault 33, helping the community in many ways, wanting to get married because there's obviously incest going on, because you only have so many people in the vault, and there's only so many combinations of couples you could make from how many people are in the vault, and then incest was bound to happen, and they make jokes about how you like have romantic relationships when you're cousins when you're younger, but then as you like age and stuff, like you have to find someone you're not related to have kids with, obviously, so that there's no like birth defects or whatever. So wanting to get married, she convinces a special council to grant her a wedding with a man from a nearby vault. Rico from Hannah Montana plays Lucy's brother, which is very funny because I think that they're trying to make him her little brother, but I think in real life Rico is like almost 40 and I think Ella Purnell is 25. So they're literally just making him the younger brother because he is shorter than her. I loved the whole like aesthetic of the wedding with like the sunflower fields and like the projected sky and stuff, and it was done really well. It looked really cool. Then we meet the people from Vault 32, and they are led by Seema from And Just Like That. So we sort of get a semi Sex and the City universe reunion because Kyle MacLachlan played Trent McDougal on Sex and the City, and Seema is a character from And Just Like That. 2 Sex and the City extended universe characters reuniting on Fallout. I love to see it. So they get married, the wedding's very nice. I don't know, I was a little suspicious of the Vault 32 people. They were a little rough looking, and then looking back on it, they do give you hints to show you that they're not the same level of like polished / like nutritionally valued, if that's the right word, as the folks from Vault 33. So after the wedding, Lucy and her husband consummate their marriage literally like an hour afterwards, and that's a good scene. But while that's happening, Lucy's younger brother Norm, played by Rico from Hannah Montana, is a little suspicious of the visitors and decides to go and investigate Vault 32 since the door is open. And he discovers that it's been raided, and he finds mutilated corpses of the vault dwellers that are actually the denizens, I think that's the word, of Vault 32. So after that, the raiders start to murder the Vault 33 residents, and then Lucy detects high levels of radiation from Monty, because he's being a little suspicious and stuff. He like drinks out of a vase, I think, and I think that was maybe the inkling to her that maybe he wasn't who she thought he was. And then she realizes that everyone that was at the wedding from Vault 32 are raiders from the surface. So he becomes aggressive, and then they have a fight, and he stabs her in the abdomen, and then she slices his face and throat with broken glass. She injects herself with a stim pack and goes to the main reception area to find just an all-out brutality fest going on. Love the amount of gore in the show. I watched the first episode with my boyfriend, who has played a bit of some of the games, and he said that he's really glad the level of brutality in the games is kept the same in the show. And it's not like too exaggerated, but they still kept it really... It's a good level of brutality and gore, I would say. So Monty tries to ambush her, but Hank, who is the overseer, played by Kyle MacLachlan, attacks him and drowns him. They run into Seema, whose name is Lee Moldaver in the show, but I feel like I'm just gonna end up calling her Seema because that's what I know her as from, and just like that. And then basically says like, you can save Lucy or you can save like these citizens or these denizens from your vault. So he locks Lucy in a room, and then they tranquilize Kyle MacLachlan and drag him out, and then everyone else runs out of the room and they blow up the door. And then, yeah, Lucy's like, well, I gotta go get our dad because he's the mayor, and no one else wants to go find him because they want to have the power to sort of run the vault or whatever. So then we move on to some subplots that I wasn't really as interested in as sort of this main one. So on the outskirts of Los Angeles, the Brothers of Steel, an organization dedicated to securing pre-war technology, trains young men in a boot camp. Remember when I said that I really liked the vibrant colors that the show had? This is just it's all black and gray and white. So an aspirant named Maximus is jealous when his friend Dane is selected to become a squire. So Dane is forced to step aside when they are severely injured by a hidden razor blade in their boot. And they suspect that Maximus did it because he was jealous because he's been really gunning for a promotion, but he just keeps getting handed bad cards and he's like shoveling shit and stuff. After that, they choose not to punish him, but he sort of professes his willingness to accept his fate of sort of what he's got going on right now, and is like, you know, I didn't put the razor blade in Dane's boot, but like, is it bad if I say that I'm kind of glad it happened so that maybe I can get promoted? And then they promote him, and he's named Squire to Knight Titus, and is assigned with him to pursue a scientist from the Enclave who escaped with dangerous technology. And he's got a dog with him, and it's like the Fallout dog, I think. So I imagine that's a whole plotline we're going to be exploring, and I guess it'll kind of be like a buddy cop thing with Maximus and Knight Titus trying to find this scientist and his dog. Then towards the end of the episode, we find 3 bounty hunters who sneak into a cemetery where they dig up a character named the Ghoul, who is a still semi-alive, immortal, undead zombie version of Cooper Howard, who has no nose and kind of looks like a skull. They dig him up. It's really cool, and I felt like this was kind of a Walton Goggins audition to be Freddy Krueger, and honestly, I am completely on board with that. I don't know, even just from this little scene, I was like, man, if they ever do a Nightmare on Elm Street remake, I'm gunning for him as Freddy Krueger. I think he could pull it off. Anyways, so the bounty hunters know that the Ghoul has reputation as like a killer and a tracker, so they dig him up to get him to help because they're also looking for this Enclave scientist, and offer to like split the bounty with him. And the Ghoul kills them and then goes off to look for the scientist himself, because he was like, you guys do it for money and I do it because I love killing people. And yeah, that was the first episode. I mean, like, Maximus and Titus are going to look for the scientist guy. The Ghoul is going to look for the scientist guy. I really feel like Lucy will end up crossing paths with them, and that's sort of how everyone's paths will cross and overlap, and maybe they'll be like the core 3 of the show, but it really does feel like the Ghoul is going to be more of an antagonistic character. So I don't know, I'll just have to keep watching. There's 8 episodes, this was the first one, so I'm debating if I want to watch one a week and cover it, or binge them and then just do like a big long episode talking about every episode. But let me know down in the comments what your preference would be for that. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. This was a really strong first episode of a TV show. I feel like TV is kind of on the rocks these days, just because shows are 10 episodes now. They're 10 episodes and they're 2 seasons, and then they get canceled, or there's like 5 years in between making them. Shows just aren't what they used to be. And everything's on a streaming thing, and it all drops at once, so it's just like a big long movie essentially. But anyways, that feels like a whole other discussion for another time. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about this first episode of Fallout. No spoilers for future episodes, please, because I haven't seen past this first one. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you in the next video.